Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, where I have with me professional wrestler Akira. So thank you for being on the show.
Hey man, what's up? I'm alive.
Yeah, so he's alive. For those who don't know, he was just in a war with Matt Tremont this past Saturday for ICW's No Holds Bars, Volume 3. And it was a pretty intense fight. Let's leave it just at that. And I don't want to ruin too much because we're going to break it down a little bit later. And one of the things that I kind of want to talk about is you have become very hot, probably in the last 6 months. But
Two
your
weeks.
last 2 weeks, you can go with that too. Last 2 weeks work as well. But I think that a lot of people don't realize that you have the exact same amount of skills and they've only gotten better 2 years ago. And I kind of want
Oh
to
yeah.
talk a little bit about Indianapolis and the Midwest a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm just going to name some names for people to get an idea who you wrestled. You wrestled Levi Everett back in the Midwest, Brandon Lee,
God.
Adam Slade, Cole Roderick, Jonathan Wolf, which might be not a great name to mention right now, Ace Perry, Dale Patrick, and one of my favorite people that I like is Kobe Durst.
Oh dude. So it's funny because I wrestled Levi in like my fourth or fifth match ever,
Very early
and
on. Very
yeah,
early on.
really early. And I'm not gonna pretend I knew what the hell I was doing. And we were both so like, do we do this? Do we do this? It was really nuts. But funny enough, he hit me with a splash in that match, and my head just snapped back and smacked into a pole, and I started gushing blood everywhere, and I didn't know. And like, it's just really funny because I get to the back, and because the ref's going, Akira, and I go, what? They're like, you're bleeding, and I'm like, oh, that's what that is. I was wondering what that was. I get to the back, and there's some guys that go, hey man, don't do bloody, man. Blood doesn't help anybody. And I'm like, and here I am, 2 years later, and all it's like part of what I do. But then like I had all the like wrestled Cole. He was like my second match ever. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I think 2 years later it would be much more interesting fighting him now, especially what he's doing. He's killing it, and he's fighting Nick Gage at GCW. Um, like a lot of those guys, it's really weird to look back because it was like 2 years ago, and I'm like, man, a lot of shit's changed in 2 years. I've done like 300, 400 more matches since then. But Kobe was like that because like I always had like a little bit of a confidence issue, but when I wrestled Kobe and I came out of that match and people were really excited about that match, they were saying like that was great. And the fact that he was like, dude, that was awesome. He's like, I'd love to wrestle you again, no problem. And I was like, okay, I think I might be able to do something in wrestling because like I just did wrestling because it was fun. You have that dream and aspiration, but until you get put to the test, you really don't know. But when Kobe has been nothing but the best to me. And when he said those things and we had the match, I was like, all right, I've got something here. I don't know what, but we'll keep figuring it out. And then it keeps going, man.
And to even talk more about Kobe Durst, one of the things is that him, Ethan Page, and there's a few others are kind of legacies of the Midwest, and
Hmm.
very much they give a lot of credit and they also verify, and there's that in play as well when you're wrestling somebody like Kobe or an Ethan Page, because
Hmm.
those are the guys that have built in many ways the Midwest. So what is that like for you when you get an opportunity being so young to kind of step up to the plate, for lack of a better word?
Wrestling guys, dude, it was nerve wracking. I mean, I still do it to this day when they announce a match. I I overhype myself. It's like almost like going into a fight or any kind of sporting competition. Like I was a college athlete. Every time you get ready to like to to start, like because I was a swimmer, so when they're about to shoot the gun, like you're like, that hurt. Why the hell did I do that? But your heart starts racing, and like, but you feel that instead of like before you jump out there, you feel for like weeks at a time. You're like, I gotta be ready, gotta be ready, gotta be ready. This is a big one. This is a big one, and it's over and over and over and over again. But the fact that I could go out there and I could hang with him especially because I didn't have a name trainer. I didn't have people vouching for me. It was just someone was like, hey, we want to put you against Kobe because we really want to show people what you can do, even though they don't think you can. And that's kind of been like my career in a nutshell of that one person, that one promoter going, look, I know you can do shit. I know you can do things. We're gonna put you on that platform, but you got to go out there and deliver. And it's tiring, but it's really rewarding too.
And to sort of jump a little bit ahead, because I do want to breeze through this stuff somewhat quickly. 2019 saw you having some interesting opportunities, and one of them was the Epic Cup that you were involved in. And I know we're going digging up old dirt here a little bit, but you had 4 matches, and they were pretty interesting, and you won that tournament, from my understanding. And that was
They were like, if you want to watch like the collective of the genre of professional wrestling, that's it right there. I wrestled a comedy guy, I wrestled the big guy, I wrestled the finals, I wrestled the technical strong style guy. Um, it's EWE is a fun place because it's almost like Chikara, but like how people kind of like lift their nose at Chikara because it's the goofy characters and stuff. It's like that, but it's all the goofy characters of like Midwest wrestling in one place. Um, I mean, it's always great there, especially because it's like maybe like a mile away from where I live at the moment. But like that, at least that they were always that promotion that always took a chance on me. I mean, they're the guys that gave me the match with Kobe, and that's how I kind of got that little bit of, oh, he's a worker kind of guy. He's a wrestler. And the fact that I went through and they're like, you're the guy. You're going to be the guy you're going to crown this tournament, and you're going to uh, basically bring it up a level. It's a lot of it's a lot of, I don't want to say pressure. It's just it makes me want to go out there and prove them right. It's like the promoters that, when they say we're going to give you the platform, we're going to give you the opportunity, go out there and do it. I have this thing in my chest and in my head where you can call it honor. You want to go by the whole Akira thing. It's Bushido, it's that personal respect for what I do. I'm like, I got to go out there, I got to do it, and I got to exceed expectations. And especially now with like everything blowing up, it's like I got all these expectations of what I could possibly do for wrestling, and I'm like, I didn't think I'd be here a year ago. I still don't. It still doesn't sit right with me. Like it doesn't register, and I just sit up sometimes and I go, it's so weird. But I still go, I think I can do this, and I'm going to do it. It's seriously, guys, it's still really weird to me going from having a great match with Tony Deppen to wrestling in IWA Deep South, where people were like, "Oh man, that show sucked," but they had Akira and Aiden Blackheart had a really great death match. To quarantine, to okay, hey, you're gonna debut for No Holds Barred, first thing out, and then everything became a shit show.
Well, we're going to talk about Tony Deppen, but before we do talk about Tony Deppen, I do want to go somewhat in chronological order, because you had
Okay.
something very cool happen also in 2019, and you got to wrestle with your girlfriend, Charlie Cruel, in Girl
Did
Fight.
I? Oh
And,
no, oh yeah, we were tag teamed, yeah.
and that
Um,
was cool because you got to face Kimberly and Zachary Wentz. You got to
mm-hmm.
face Alley Cat and then Sean Kemp, and then you got to face Billy Stark, who I just had an
And that
issue with.
one guy, and that one guy, right?
Yeah, that one guy. That one guy. We're not saying his name. He's blacklisted for a reason at this point. But
Like,
what was that like? Because not many people get to wrestle with their significant other. For that,
well,
and
I thought you said I wrestled her, and I was like, I have never actually. There was one time, it was like in a scramble match where we faced each other for a second, and she went to kick me in the dick, and I grabbed her foot and I German suplexed her on her head. So I was like, that didn't really count, I don't think. But no, we had that tag team tournament for Girl Fight, and like honestly, it was for her, like because she's also one of those people that people kind of like. She's not a. I'm going to go out there and have like the crazy technical match. She's very. I'm a character. I'm this person that you can watch and you can kind of believe in, and she's going to entertain you no matter what. She's one of the best promos in the entire Midwest, and nobody wants to talk about that. And it still pisses me off. Like she had one recently that I filmed where she fell out of a box and she just cut a promo right then. Didn't talk about it. She's like, "Hey, I'm going to cut a promo." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I said, "Hey, maybe just do it where you fall out of the box," and just instantly did it. Yelled at our dog and everything. It all just happened. Um, but it was really cool because I think it was a cool experience for me too because uh, we got to go against all these people and we got to show that we can hang. Like she went out there with Kimberly and she got her ass kicked by Kimberly. I got my ass kicked by Kimberly, but then we also went back and we beat the shit out of them back too. And I also showed that, yeah, Kimberly is a woman wrestler, but as a fellow competitor, I'm going to respect her enough to kick her in the head. And then she kicked me in the head, as did Zachary once. And he also dropped me on my head. The funny part about that match was when he did the deadlift German in the beginning of the match, and I took like this all Japan like Misawa bump where I, like and I curled up and I was like, oh my god, is this what I do to people? I prayed to Carl Gotch. I was like, I'm so sorry. um, but we had that match, and I still watched that match back, and I'm like, that was a good match. Then we had the match with Alley Cat and Sean, and we got to, and because I've never been in really like crazy technical tag matches, and neither has she. And it was just a really cool learning experience because we got to work with all these different kinds of wrestlers, whether it was the simple match, the more technical tag match where um, Alley Cat hits so goddamn hard and like she's legit. And like we had to show that we could stand and hang with her. It was the same thing of that we were told, hey, here's your platform, go out there and hang. And in the finals match, we went out there and we hung. And it was funny too because like people know I'm a good guy, and she's wherever she goes, it's either they love her, they hate her, and they hated her there. It got to the point in that show where um, like they were booing her, but they're like, no, 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 Akira, we love you though. And it was great to work with her because I could see how much she really wants it, man. Like she's wanted it just as long as I have in long. Like she's wanted since she's like 6 or 7. I got back into wrestling like a year or two before I started training, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. She's wanted it forever, and I want her to go out there, and I want her to like if I could just retire and it gives her all the success in the world, I'd do it. Like that's my stance on it, and I've said it multiple times in interviews. I do that for her.
And so, given that this is in play, what was that like winning it? Because it must mean for you, it's obviously everybody wants to win in wrestling, but for her, it must have meant something way bigger. And for you to share it in the ring with her must have meant something even more.
Um, I still say this because I'm normally not the guy that tweets out the shady shit. I like to prove my things through my actions. Because like there's a lot of people that have done a lot of bad things to me, and I've like held my tongue. But and it's a lot of guys that have said, "Oh, you're lazy. You're never gonna make it. You're never gonna do this." And so the fact that I'm doing what I'm doing, and the fact that she's traveling more than a lot of these people, and she's putting in the work just as much, I'm like, that's the biggest middle finger I can give to people. So us winning that tournament was like just as much a middle finger, and I mean it hasn't stopped. It's like okay, we won. There's that one middle finger, but we've got 1,000 more we got to give to all these different people. So it was like back to square one. We got to back to work, you know. It's like a fighter. He wins the fight. Great, you know. Raise my hand. When's the next one? That's how it is. Can't settle in this shit. You just can't because if you settle, then
The beginning
you're
of the end. It's the beginning of the end.
you can never find that success again. I view it like a lot of people are saying I'm riding a wave right now. I'm like, no, no, no. I made a wave, as people say, like against Reed Bentley. So it was a decent sized wave. I could either let it ride and then it'll simmer down, or, oh, hey, you're wrestling Matt Tremont next show. Okay, man, cool. Gotta drop a bigger bomb. Okay, now the wave's back up again. I could ride this a little bit longer. You got to keep dropping bombs into the ocean. You got to keep making people care, because if you get complacent and you do, get lazy, that's when the ride ends. And then it's hard to drop that bomb again in the right spot so you can ride a wave. Unless you're that good. I mean, there's some guys that can do it. Like there's guys like Chris Jericho where they rode that wave all the way down, and then they come back with something completely brand new, and they're back up again. But that's how good those guys are.
And
Warhorse, that like he was like a Midwest staple, and he was a guy that I looked up to, and I was like, I want to be like him one day. And then he did that complete 180, and now he is who he is now, and he's on this giant wave. And honestly, if he's not a complacent dude, so that wave, it might not get bigger, but he's on such a big wave, he doesn't need a bigger wave, because eventually someone's going to pick him up and take him to the top of a mountain and say, hey, you're here, bro. You did all that work. You made such a giant wave. We had to pick you up. We had to save you, and we had to sign you. I'm waiting for him to get signed.
it's a matter of 6 months, in which that would be so stupid for one of these three major companies, to not sign it.
The wave he's making right now, with all you've seen, I'm still vouching for Tremont versus Cody, but the amount of fans that are always tweeting at Cody, like Cody can't tweet anything without, why aren't you facing Warhorse? That's how big Warhorse has gotten, and it's really cool to seeing all these guys that when I first started, they're they're killing it. They're on AEW. Like Marco Stunt. I remember I wrestled 0-1 when I came back from LA training for a week with Shibata. We did a dual 619 thing. I was like, oh man, that's cool, And then like a year later, he's on AEW. I'm like, you just sit there and you go, what? Really? Wow. It shows you that it feels like, and this is to anybody in wrestling, it may feel like you're going nowhere, but dude, shit can happen in an instant. You never know.
I'll add to that. Why do you think I'm pulling out of and going through and trying to get ICW No Holds Bars wrestlers and Beyond's wrestlers and freelances wrestlers and companies like that and GCW? Because that's where AEW is pulling out of. There's no doubt about it. It's crystal clear. And if anybody's watching this, I just gave you the blueprint for the next 5 years of where wrestling is going. And if you don't see it, and I just gave it away. I just gave away my entire secret sauce because it's extremely relevant. And that's the thing. And then we've seen it with, Marco Stunt, Jungle Boy. They were leaving. Joey Janela is another one that people forget and disappears. And then you look at a variety of others like Shine and Shimmer. That's where AEW pulls out for their women's division. So
NXT does that too, man.
If you're not looking at it, and this is the secret sauce, and this is where wrestling podcasts are going, because the stars that I'm interviewing 2 years from now today are going to be in AEW without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's the way it's going. And Warhorse is a great example, and I think that's the thing with Cody. It's great that people are calling out Cody Rhodes and everything, but it's clear that Warhorse match needs to happen, and it should be a main event on an AEW pay-per-view, without a doubt, because that will sell that pay-per-view.
I still think, and I'm going to preach it whenever I get the chance, I still think Matt Tremont deserves that match. He's been asking it for 2 years. Warhorse can wait. I think Matt, if he just gets that match and he gets one chance to cut a promo and just talk to the people on national television, I'm pretty sure he'd be happy with that. He doesn't need a contract. I know he likes what he's doing. He has a school. He has his own promotion. He's living a pretty good life. He's made it all for himself. But if he could just do that, I'm pretty sure he'd be like, I'm good, man. It's all I needed.
It's about pride, and it's about doing what you want to do and having that opportunity versus the money or a contract. Because at a certain point, Matt Tremont, I'm going to talk about him, I think, but I guess we'll talk about it right now. The way I view him is that he's done everything he's wanted to do. He's done it his way, and he's done it the way that he thinks it should be done. And we look at matches that he's had in action wrestling, the fact that him and O'Shea did the match they wanted to do, that nobody told them how to do that match. And so, talking about that, and we're going to talk about
Dude, he got
ICW.
to wrestle Onita. Like he lived his career like is stuff that other wrestlers wish they could say they did. He got to wrestle Onita, and he honestly made one of the best promo packages for that match. If you have not watched the promo package for Onita versus Matt Tremont, you are. It is a not even a death match promo package. It is a beautiful promo, a pro wrestling promo. That is shit you would have found in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Like it's emotional. Like you watch that and you're like, dude, I want to go get dropped in my head 5 times in a match. I want to go do this shit. Let's go. You feel inspired. But that's how good Matt is at talking, and people don't talk about it enough. And
Yeah, and
I was like a subject of it. Like people don't understand what it feels like for that. It's 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 almost like a revival, like you're in church. He's preaching to you.
so let's talk about this because clearly Matt Tremont knows how to cut a promo. He knows how to do a lot of shit, and he's done a lot of shit, and everything he puts in is fantastic. I would say 99% of his matches are fantastic, which is better than probably every other wrestler on the planet at this point. And so ICW No Hold Bar is coming out. You had a match the week before. Then when do you find out you're facing Matt Tremont for that show?
Uh, it was like the day after. As soon as I got it, like my phone went off, and someone's like, "Hey, you're on Barstool." I was like, "I'm on what?" Click the link. 1 million fucking views, and it's like all over. And then I hear, hey, because I knew I was on the next show, but then I heard like past versus future, Tremont versus Akira, and I saw the poster, and I was like, oh shit, um, because I'd wrestled Matt before, like in January. He was my
Yeah.
anniversary match. People don't know that, and like that's something that's really special to me. Like at that point in my career, 2 years in, I got to wrestle Matt Tremont, and I was like, this is cool. And it wasn't a death match. It was like it was almost like a Memphis match. We were just beating the shit out of each other, fighting on the outside, Um, but it was fun, and like we really entertained the crowd. And it was like 10 degrees, and so there was like maybe 40 to 50 people there, but they were like all circled around us. We're punching each other, and they're chanting and they're into it. But then I got that I just saw, and I was like, wow. Because the next time we fight, it's going to be bloody. And there you have it, man. Like it happened. It was bloody.
Let's talk a little bit about this because I think there's something that we're missing here. So 5 years ago, Barstool Sports wasn't looking at wrestling. Joe Rogan wasn't looking at wrestling. Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. You here?
Someone was trying to call me. Sorry.
So as I was saying, 5 years ago, no mainstream media was talking about wrestling, whether it's Barstool, ESPN, Joe Rogan has come around, and a variety of other people have now come around. And so you're getting all this attention. And we were joking earlier, and even before we got on live, that it was pretty much not really much attention, and then in the past 2 weeks, it's been all the attention. So, what is that like coming into both of these ICW No Holds Bar matches and really going from 0 to 60?
It's just it's hard. It's hard on me. It's hard on my girlfriend, just because it's like you go from having nobody talking about you to everybody's talking about you, and then you've got people that you know that you want to succeed, and they're like, well, when's it my turn? And it hurts them, and I'm like, I don't, if I could just wrestle without Twitter ever being a thing, and I could be doing what I'm doing right now without Twitter being a thing, it'd be cool, because it's like social media is a blessing. I could talk to fans and stuff now, especially like people that want to talk to me all the time. But it's, as everybody knows, it makes life a little bit harder when it comes to privacy, when it comes to how it affects people. But I mean, it's, once again, I had to consider it a blessing too, because if without social media, without like Barstool and stuff, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. And the fact that we're quickly from
Technical difficulties. Technical difficulties.
good Lord, there it is.
Perfect.
Where were we at?
So social media blessing, it being,
Blessing curse.
yeah, blessing curse, and also the fact that, you know, privacy issues, and basically how are you dealing with all this? Because obviously when you go from having nobody looking at you to then everybody looking at you, and it's not gradual, clearly, that's not an easy thing to manage.
Um, well, here's the thing, like, I'm generally a pretty private person. Like on Twitter, it doesn't really reflect what I'm doing in real life, unless it's like today when I'm posting stuff that's wrestling related, that's personal. But like, there's people that try to find me on Facebook, and it's really hard. Like, I have promoters that they have a hard time finding me on Facebook, just because, like, I've cut my name down to the point where you can't find me. So, it's just, it's taking those things, it's knowing what to be vocal about, what not to be vocal about, and knowing also when to put the phone down. Like, if like the past couple months when Twitter's been bumming me out, I've put down the phone, I've walked away, gone on walks, went to a state park a couple times and just walked with my girlfriend and with our dog, and we just got away from it, man. It's just know what makes you happy, and if social media is not making you happy, it's not worth having all the time. And
And,
I
and
think that's
so and
it's
so
so
now,
powerful.
going that you have all this stuff with you, and we speak
Yeah.
about creating a wave and riding a wave, and now you're coming in to face Matt Tremont. And now the expectation, whether it's good or bad, and I might be taking a leap of faith here, but wrestling Twitter can be fun. Typically, what I find is wrestling Twitter is a lot of fun. There's not assholes on it for the most part. There can be, but what was that like, and how does that add pressure into it a little bit? Because now you have not just a little wave coming, you have a big match on top of a bunch of people on Twitter, and the world really excited for it.
It's I'm a kind of a guy that I learn on the fly, and I also deal with things as they come. Um, it's really it's really off, just because
It's
a
weird.
lot
It's
of
weird
that
times.
match, they really hyped the match up, and so it's like, man, we want to, both of us, like, Matt wants to work, Matt wants to be the, he wants to deliver, and I want to deliver. So, but it's just when you have that high of, like, instead of like, 60 likes or 60 tweets on Twitter, it's like 200 on like every other platform, and as much as I know for wrestling, that's wild. Um, it's it's really nerve wracking, because I want to perform not just for me, but for Matt. I want to perform for ICW, but I also want to perform for my girlfriend and the people that I love, because I want to represent those people as best as I can. Like, at the end of the day, like, that's all I've got is the family and friends that have gotten me here. And so when, like, those all those pressures get pushed on me. I feel them. I kind of talk to myself out loud. I'm like, this is happening. This is happening. And people think I'm crazy because I'm talking to myself, but it's just, it helps me process. But when, the time comes, I'm like, okay, I'm here. Let's do it. It's like the match with Tony. That was the most nerve wracking. I'm like, can I hang with Tony Deppen? That was the most nerve, like, because with Kobe's is one style of wrestler, but Tony is very go, 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 go. He's very fast paced. And I'm like, can I do that, man? And the fact that I did it and people were praising it, and then when it got shown on IWTV, it didn't have the most like views or anything, but the people that watched it, they were like, oh shit, this guy can go too. And I had the worst hair in the world. I didn't have hair at the time. I had like a shaved red head. It looked horrible. But it was like, I'm here, let's do it. I put in the work, and when the pressure's on, I perform. Like that's just how I work generally. Obviously not 99%, like not all the time. So maybe like 5% of the time when the pressure's on, I stumble. But we're human. That happens.
Yeah, and to talk about this because I think what also helped prepare you for the Matt Tremont match was your Reed Bentley match. And the reason why I bring this up is that there's one spot in that match where you're going up the stairs and you go out on the roof. You have some light tubes with you, and you perform I guess a backdrop. I think it's a senton.
Yeah.
And with the light tubes through the tables, I don't think Chris Levin was too happy about that. His face was not with everybody.
Chris is never happy with me. In the match with Matt, he was not happy with me. I love Chris Levin. Like, he's one of the best refs I've ever worked with. But I can't count how many times in that match with Matt, when I'm bleeding everywhere, I told him, get the hell away from me, and a bunch of other words. And he just looked at me like, he's shaking his head like the most disappointed brother. He's just like, oh, you idiot. You idiot. And then that, like, a lot of people, when I went up there and I got to the back, they were like, really? And I'm like, what? I get to the back, and Alex Colon, like, before he'd been like, oh, Reed and Akira could be, the sleeper match. And I get to the back, and he goes, off a fucking roof, really? And I go, what? I get the most, like, disappointed looks. They just pat me on the shoulder and go, you asshole. And I go, I'm sorry. What am I supposed to do?
And in many ways, the commentary I think put it really really well, saying that last week, which was the Reed Bentley match, you were trying to fight to earn a spot, and then
Yeah.
the Matt Tremont match was saying you're taking your spot and owning your spot indefinitely.
It wasn't even I'm taking my spot. It's like I'm taking my place in not just deathmatch wrestling, in pro wrestling. I'm like, I'm not just some guy who's, I'm generic indie star. It's, I'm gonna be the dude wherever I'm at. You give me that chance, I will run with it. I'll kill myself for you, but I'm gonna be the guy. And the fact that people, like, I put that in what I do. I don't really vocalize it, but the fans vocalizing what I'm feeling when they were like, "Nah, dude, Akira Way's like, at the Akira Way, he's the guy, he's the dude." And I'm like, good, people are getting it. And the fact that people were also like tweeting like, "Dude, a death match almost made me cry." I'm like, good, that's what I wanted. I almost cried too, to be fair. I was this close, but I'm like, dude, I'm already bloody. I can't cry now because that'll just kill it.
And there was a lot of shit in this match,
Yeah.
this Matt Tremont match. There was a lot of violence. There was
Yep.
like two cabins, which I didn't know existed. Apparently, I think we all
Yep.
learned something on Saturday. There was light tubes to the face. There was light tubes broken and being stabbed into skulls. There was light tubes off of bladders and a lot of other
There,
stuff.
there was me getting stabbed with a light tube. That was the fun one. Uh, There was me getting thrown over chains through a table head first.
That had
That
light
was
tubes.
fun. Me doing a German suplex to Matt Tremont, which I don't think anybody was prepared for. It was like it was a celebration of what I think just pro wrestling, but bloody pro wrestling. Because at the
There's,
end of the day, like people were telling me, like, dude, it was just so emotional. Like that was like it wasn't like Alex versus Eric Ryan, where it was action, 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 action. It was action, but there was a lot of we had
storytelling.
something we wanted the fans to get, and
There was a lot of storytelling. There was a lot of fuck yous to Tremont to some degree, and not to the degree to be disrespectful, but saying like I'm defying you and I want more.
that's that's Akira, man. That's like I'm a very like people were also talking about after the match when I was just sitting there, That's just how I am. I sit there and I listen. I'm especially when it comes to wrestlers I respect. I'm so old school in that regard. Of I'll sit there in the Indian pose and I'll sit there and just listen. But when I'm in a match like that and I'm proving myself to you, I'm also going to be the most stubborn like teenager in the world, even though I'm not a teenager. Like it's defiance, and not defiant just to be defiant. It's defiance with the purpose. It's defiance that people can identify with of I believe in what I'm doing, and no matter what you're going to do, you're not going to break me down. And I think in today's day and age, characters and people like that stand out more than ever. Like people that you can believe in that aren't, you know, pieces of shit in real life that want you to believe in them because we believe in it. I believe in pro wrestling, and when I'm in there, that first chair shot, I didn't stick my hands up because that's the biggest fuck you. And like it's like taboo. Like all the wrestling fans in the world are like don't like unprotected hair shots, blah 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 blah. Like no, that's the biggest fuck you I can make. It's the biggest like exclamation point at that time I can make because it's like I care about this. I'm going to show that you can hit me with whatever, and I'll take it willingly. I mean, I put my hands behind my back, and he punched me in the head
bar
multiple
fight,
times.
bar
He
fight. Who asked for a
he
bar fight with Matt Tremont? You did.
guys, it was not like Jerry Lawler punches. It was Matt Tremont is punching me in the jaw as hard as he can, and I'm taking it. And Matt Tremont is a big man who hits really hard.
And another thing about this match that I don't think people realize, and I watched it twice over again purposely to talk about it, was so you got cut open on your
Mhm.
chest, and that was the bad one. And during the main event, it was actually notified that you were taken to the hospital. I don't think that's given anything away or quote unquote. Um, but the idea is that it was a bad cut,
That was bad.
and
Uh, it was not good.
and Matt Tremont was trying to open it up during this match.
Yeah.
And so this and you were biting his head too. So this isn't a child's play match. Is my point, and this was a war. It's not a match. Is the way I describe it.
It was, I mean, it was not a technical masterpiece. No, it was two men who love what we do. We love this fucking sport, and we're going to show you how bad and how gross it can get. Because there's a lot of guys too that they want to play deathmatch wrestler now too. And I'm not the spokesman guy. That there's other guys who've been doing a lot longer than me, but it's like, are you willing to get stabbed in the chest? You could possibly bleed out. You don't know, but you're going to keep going, and you're going to tell the most beautiful rep in the world, Chris Levitt, to fuck off and get away from me multiple times through the match. And you're going to you're going to keep getting hit. You're going to get chopped like maybe an inch above where that hole is, and you're going to let a man pull apart and stick his fingers inside the wound for what we do, for the purpose of the sport, for the art. The answer is probably no. But like, and I wasn't even thinking about that at the time. I was just like, I got to finish. I got to keep doing this. And like I was just like, do whatever to me, man. Do whatever to me. I don't care.
And the fact that he did whatever, I mean, to some degree, we talk about respect and we talk about respect in wrestling and an old school mentality versus new school respect. You know, the Dudley Boys have an entire discussion about respect and what it means. Sometimes you got to slap, your little trainee on the head every once in a while.
Mhm.
But the fact that Matt Tremont wanted to even go to this level with you and was willing to do that is such a sign of respect to
Yes.
you. It's such a sign of respect. And obviously, you're young and he's a veteran, 14
Yes.
plus years. And so the fact that he would treat you as an equal to some degree and the same respect level that he's treated others in the ring, I mean, that must mean a lot to you.
It's it means a lot to me. Like in terms of like, I don't want to say pride, but like as of I've worked so hard for 2 years to get to this point that there's people that do think of me like that. But the fact that it is also a man who, when he first met me, he was nothing but nice to me. He had always had the most encouraging things to say to me, always giving me tips and little tips and advice. And the fact that he was at this level, it was also not just a professional pride, but it was a personal pride of I I got the trust of someone who is legitimately a legend, and he wanted to go to war with me. Like sitting in that ring after while he's talking to me, man. Still think about it. People are never going to get it or what it feels like, and people hate Necro Butcher, for what he says on Twitter or on Facebook, whatever. But the fact that when he brought that up, he was like, "Necro, what Necro did to me, I'm basically doing for you." Like, look, man, I've got my catch wrestling coach was a student of Billy Robinson. And I trained with Shibata, who has his lineage with like Carl Gotch. Like, there's this weird like lineage all around me that somehow, one way or another, leads to me. And the fact that in terms of the pure wrestling side, I have that, but then in the hardcore side, I have Necro Butcher to Matt Tremont to me, and people keep talking about it, man. It's something. I don't think it's ever gonna sit right with me, but I'm like, it happened, man. It's something I'm gonna have to live with. It's a weight on my chest when he said, basically, I expect someday for you to do the same.
Yeah, and to talk about that, I mean, it's very humbling in many ways. It's a weight, but also, it's forcing an obligation upon you. And I think that that's a good thing because I think this type of stuff will continue. And he's passing on 14 years to some degree.
Out, jeez.
And we're back. We're back.
Sorry about that. Phone keeps fading out.
And so, in many ways, as I was saying, it's very much an obligation and it's forcing a responsibility on you. And that's a good thing. And the fact that he trusts you enough. And I
Yeah,
mean, he was saying that he's got a few more chapters left. I think the guy can still go for another 5 years. I really think he can if he wanted to. Um,
it's hard to say that, man. Just like it's 15 years of doing what he's been doing. Like, guys, it's not just normal wrestling. It's some of the hardest stuff you can take. Like, as one wrestler to another, I know he's hurting. I get like, I don't personally go through it right now, but I can imagine I could be doing that, feeling what he's feeling in 15 years. Um, but he never said he's gonna retire. He's not gonna say the R word, man. So I think he just needs a, a break, or he needs something to feel like, rekindle the fire. And
so going off of that, though, clearly well, we could say break or he's going to slow down. You know, I don't think he's ever going to fully retire either, which is the R word. But it's this idea, though, that you were sort of one of the last chapters, if we will put it that way, for a while of a certain era of him. And I hate to put it that way, but I think that that's the easiest way to describe it. And I'm sure that if he ever sees me in a ring, he'll beat the shit out of me for saying that. But I think it speaks exactly what I'm saying. So what is that like for you, that you get that opportunity to be at the end of the era he sort of built, and that he's passing it on to some degree?
It's almost like how I could say it's like the to put it in terms of Akira, I'll say this: it's like the samurai uh, who he's fought for years and years and years and years. He made his legacy. People know who he is, but at some point you got to hand the sword to someone else. You got to hand the sword, if it's a student or whether it's someone you see as a legitimate heir. And I don't want to say that I'm that guy, because that's really pretentious, and I try not to be that guy. But that's what it kind of felt like. That's what some people could say, of like it was the mentor handing the blade to the pupil and saying, someday you're going to do this exact same thing, or I expect you to do this exact same thing to help someone who needs it. But you're going to be taking what I did and you're going to be running with it. And I expect you to make the most of it. Carry the name, carry what you did here today with pride, and build more off of it.
I'm going to give an analogy that some people will get, and it's an anime analogy. I'm a big My Hero Academia fan. So this is what All Might did to Deku. That's the analogy here, where Deku still needs to learn and still needs to grow, and he's got a few years of growth, but he will eventually become that. And then pretty much the way My Hero is going is that's what's going to happen. Deku's going to pass it on. So that's the analogy that I would use in this circumstance. And for anime fans who know that, they're going to get it instantly.
My girlfriend will know it. I haven't seen My Hero Academia. I've always heard great things, but I'm always like so tired or so hurting. I'm just like, I don't want to watch an anime. I'm going to get invested, and I got to sit there and watch it, and I don't want to watch it.
So we're going to table the anime thing.
The 1,000th time.
So we're going to table the anime thing, but some people will get the analogy, and they'll be like, oh, I get it now. But clearly, you now have a spot in ICW No Holds Barred. Without a doubt. You've earned it. You show that you belong, and people love you there. And you're supposed to be there, for lack of a better word. And I know that, and I'm going to take an assumption, because I think it'd be criminal if you were not wrestling on the 4th and 5th volume, and which is going to happen. And there might be clowns there, which it's circus, whatever.
Abdullah the Butcher's going to be there. It's going to be weird, man.
It's going to be a crazy show. It's going to be like 24 hours. There's a lot of stuff going on. Jersey is a crazy place for wrestling in general, because they don't really care what you do, apparently, in Jersey when you wrestle, for the most part. So I don't know if you have opponents set yet, or if you can say, but you're pretty much going to be on that show, or at least one of them, right? I mean, it's a safe bet, right?
I'm going to say just expect me to be somewhere, some way, in any capacity, at any ICW No Holds Barred from now on. A lot of people have asked me about like GCW. Not opposed to it. Not gonna beg for it though. A lot of guys do. Right now, ICW No Holds Barred to me is just as good, if not, I think better in some ways than them. I get to do. It's a very different environment. It's very special. It's their own two different things. I'm happy I'm there. I'll say that. They gave me a chance first. They let me run with the ball. They're giving me all these opportunities, and I'm forever an ICW No Holds Barred guy. Up until the point where Japan's like, "Hey, we want you to come be here forever," and I'm like, "All right, guys, you know I've been waiting for this forever. I'm going to Japan. Bye."
And on that note, I think that's a perfect way to wrap up. Pretty much those shows are good. I don't know the exact dates. I want to say, are they the 4th of August and 5th of
August
August?
7th and 8th.
Well, I was close. I was close. So it's the 7th and 8th. I believe it's a Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
And so I just want to throw that out so people can check that out. And then also, what is all your social media that's public? So I know you have a Twitter. I don't know if you have a Pro Wrestling Tees yet. I don't know if you have an Instagram. Don't go
Actually
bother
getting
them
a
on
new
Facebook.
store. I'm getting a new wrestling store. I'm done messing with pro wrestling tees, no matter how short that was. But it's going to be, I think it's theakiraway.com. It's going to be associated with Indie Connection, and I'm going to have a whole bunch of different kinds of merchandise. Like honestly, guys, it's going to be like its own merchandising and clothing brand. I'm going all the way in with it. But Twitter, Instagram, Facebook is at the Akira Way, and I'm always like I'm sitting at home doing nothing if I'm not training. And I can't even train right now. So just if you want to message me a question, you want to tweet at me, you want to talk about stuff, go ahead, man. And I'm also on Twitch supposed to be tonight too, at around 10:30, 11 o'clock. Going to be watching wrestling matches, just talking with stuff with other wrestlers that I have on, and that's going to be at the Exotic Weapon on Twitch. But dude, thank you so much for having me, though, man.
Oh man, it's been a blast to have you. I mean, you killed it last Saturday. You might have killed yourself partially too, but that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there. You're still alive, which is good. As you stated, people can bleed out, and that's never fun. And I would just like to say to everybody out there, support indie. Right now we're starting to come back from COVID-19, and
Mhm.
if you think that the last 3 months for anybody in general, let alone your favorite wrestler or somebody you like, has been easy, it hasn't been. And same thing with promotions. So you have to go support indie, and you can buy somebody's shirt. I don't know when those shirts are going to be available or your clothing brand is going to be up, but when it does get up, I'm sure you're going to tweet about it. Definitely.
I'm going to announce this here, actually. Um, I in 1 week, I am going to have a new T-shirt design done by legendary T-shirt designer Seiyazawa. It's my first ever one. I wanted to wait for a special and appropriate time to ask him to make one for me, but it's going to be done in around a week or a week and a half, and it's going to be available first at indieconnection.com.
So there you go, everybody. That's where you can get it. And as I stated, people have been hurting for 90 days, and if you have extra money and you like your favorite wrestler, buy their T-shirt. That's the place to go. 1 week from now. And then
Yep.
secondly, if you're in a position where you don't have extra money and you're trying to just take care of your family, one of the things that you should do though is follow on social media. That includes following on Twitch. That includes following on Twitter. That includes following on Facebook because
All this stuff adds up.
that's just as important.
Yes, it all adds up. Because then when you follow all those wrestlers you like, the wrestlers that they associate with, you can find out about them, and then you can learn about them. It's all one big spider web of networking. And like seriously, I love talking with people. And you might not think about it, and people might joke about, oh, wrestling isn't a necessary service. A lot of wrestlers have been feeling terrible just because they haven't. This is what we're made to do. Like there's a lot of people that this is their full time job. I'm not. I'm getting to the point where it can be, but a lot of people have worked really hard, and then in 3 months, it's all gone. So support who you can, while you can, people that you love, that aren't pieces of shit in real life. Support them with everything that you can, man, because like we're nothing without you. You're the guys that pay for the shows. You're the guys that show up. If you're not there, wrestling's pretty boring.
And I think that's a perfect place to end right there because I couldn't have said it better myself.